Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel for another video. Now that we're at the end of the season, I wanted to make a video about some paint schemes that I think might be added or should be added that we'd like to see. I tried to limit this to one per number, but there's a few that I do multiple. But yeah, I tried to keep the video kind of short and just keep it to one paint scheme per number and try and stay away from paint schemes that we pretty much already have. Then they might just add like a playoff logo too, and I'm sure that's going to happen. We'll probably get a playoff pack, which is fine. But this is, variety's nice, so that's what I was kind of going for in this video. So let's jump in. I'm going to try and run through these fairly quick. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on each paint scheme, but this is the first one. Landon Castle drove this car at Homestead this year. A lot of these paint schemes I'm going to talk about are Homestead schemes, but this is a neat looking car, so this would be an awesome addition to the game. Really stands out, and it's a little similar to a scheme that he already has, but this one's a lot more blue in it, and it's a nice looking car. Next up is a holiday paint scheme that Brad Keselowski drove at Phoenix this year. Similar to the car he drove last year, this one's blue. It's a neat little scheme. I'm not usually a fan of Christmas schemes or holiday schemes, but this one's going to pass for me. Austin Dillon's up next. I know this paint scheme is kind of similar to Daniel Hemrick's. It is a little bit different. I kind of anticipate that this is probably going to be added to the game. These are what Hemrick's cars look like. You can see they're kind of similar, but it is different. And I also added another two for Austin Dillon. The first one is this rig ups paint scheme. Neat car, nice colors. I can see that being added, and I put this in the video because I want to explain why this probably won't be in the game. I've had people ask me this in the comments on videos, and I've seen people inquire about it on forums and on Facebook. I actually emailed the RCR Museum and asked about merchandise when this car ran, and I was told that Jack Daniels Racing is not actually functional. This was sort of a one-off deal for their 50th anniversary, so don't anticipate any merchandise, and I don't anticipate any inclusion of that paint scheme in any form of media. But you never know. I mean, they could surprise us, but I wouldn't bet on it, put it that way. Ryan Newman's Bluebird paint scheme is next. Neat car. There's a few breast cancer awareness cars I included. I figured they'll probably make a breast cancer pack, possibly. As you can see, the pink numbers. Nice looking car. Kevin Harvick's Gen X car. I'll be shocked if that doesn't get added as millennial cars in the game, so it'd be no surprise to see this make an appearance. It's pretty much the only Harvick paint scheme we don't have now. We've got pretty much every other one that there is, so this should probably be in the next DLC. Daniel Hemrick's paint scheme. This car was run at Homestead, Miami. Nice car. We could use another Hemrick scheme, I guess. We mostly have Caterpillar paint schemes and Bass Pro Shops from him, so that would be a nice addition to the game. Chase Elliott, another breast cancer car. This was run at Dover this year in October during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's exactly the same as his other Hooters car except pink, but if we get this, it's probably going to look like this with the playoff logos on it, but you never know. Next up is, and I despise this scheme. I think this is such an ugly looking car. Eric Almirola. I'm not a fan of the colors, but it might get added. Who knows? There's a few Almirola schemes now, so I wouldn't be shocked to see this make an appearance. Denny Hamlin. The first one is the J.D. Gibbs paint scheme. This will more than likely be added. I'll be shocked if it doesn't. It's probably going to be in. It's the same as his FedEx paint scheme, which we have multiple of. The only difference is the rear bumper, but where it was run at Homestead and he was in the Final Four, expect this to be included. And they also added this FedEx Cares scheme. This was run at Watkins Glen this year. It'd be nice to have a Hamlin scheme that doesn't, that actually looks different, a little different anyway. Neat car. Would be nice to see that make an appearance. I'm not sure if it will, because Watkins Glen was back in August, so here we are in November, but you never know, could make an appearance. Next we have Ryan Blaney's Dickies paint scheme. I really like this car. It's simple, but it really stands out. Numbers pop out. If we get a playoff pack, I wouldn't be surprised to see this included. Ty Dillon's up next. I'd love to see this car in the game. It'd be nice to have a Geico car that's not the typical Geico colors. This was run at Michigan, and I mean, it's got Geico on it. It's a K&L ready mix car if you can't see the hood. But neat car, really stands out, and be a neat addition. Up next is Ross Chastain. This car was run at New Hampshire this year. Might get it where it's back in the summer, it's hard to say, but it'd be nice to have another paint scheme for Ross. He's going to be a big name in the next few years, I think. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. ran this car at Watkins Glen. I could take it or leave it. Not a huge fan. It's kind of a bland scheme, but we might see it go in. It's hard to say. Champion Kyle Busch. This car was run at Martinsville as well as Kansas this year. May get that in a playoff pack. Hard to say. I mean, like I say, all this is speculation, but might see that one. As well as this one. This car was run at Texas this year. I mean, most of Paul's schemes look the same for the most part, besides the front end, but variety. It's nice. We'll take what we can get. Logano ran this car in Charlotte, ran the 600 this year, so that's a neat looking car. It's a little different than what he normally runs. I mean, color-wise it is, so that would kind of stand out. William Byron's Patriotic scheme. I thought this was in the game, but it isn't, and this was also run at the 600 this year. It's a neat looking Patriotic car. Next up, we have the 27 car, driven by Reed Sorensen. This kind of pops out, the orange and the black. I like the color scheme, so that'd be a neat addition to the game. As well as the 32 car. That car was driven by Corey LaJoie, another breast cancer car. This ran the Ford 400 here at Homestead. Number 34, I'm not sure if we're going to get this paint scheme or not, where it's A&W. I think that happened in years past where they neglected to go in the game, but this is a McDowell car, and it did run at the first Data 500 at Martinsville. I'm not sure we're going to get the whole of this car either. It is Matt Tiff's number, but John Hunter Nemechek ran the car when Tiff was taken out at Homestead, so hard to say where was a different driver in the car that will get that, but you never know. Chris Buescher in the 37 car. Nice Cheerios car. Really pops. I like this paint scheme. It's nice and bright. That would look really good on the racetrack in the game. David Reagan's final ride car. I'm pretty sure we're going to get this one. It's kind of it's a big deal. I mean, he's been in the sport a long time, so I won't be surprised to see that go in. Up next is Suarez. Again, another paint scheme I'm not a fan of. It's really bland. I could see it going in. It ran at Texas this year. It only ran the one race. Like I say, I'm not a big fan of it, but I wouldn't be shocked to see that included. Darrell Wallace, Victory Junction car. I like this car. It's unique. It's a really busy paint scheme, but it's a nice race car, and the numbers really pop out on it. So this would be a nice addition. This was also run at Talladega this year, so I wouldn't be shocked if this went in. Most of the schemes that were run probably from October onward will probably go in if something like that, but we'll see. Up next we have Jimmy Johnson. I mentioned that I was going to try and avoid putting in paint schemes that were similar to like where you have Hamlin's car and FedEx Office and Grand and they're all just the same paint scheme minus a quarter panel. That's kind of what this is, I guess, because they just have a different quarter panel logo, but he also has a Jimmy Johnson Foundation on the race car. I don't know. It would add a little bit of variety, I guess. There's really no other Johnson paint schemes that they could do, I don't think, because his camo car's in there already, and he pretty much ran the same thing all year, but I figured I'd include it anyway. Next car is BJ McLeod. He's only got one paint scheme in the game, so it'd be nice to give him another one. This car was run at Martinsville this year, so it's another breast cancer car, so it'd be nice to have him have two paint schemes at least. The 52 car is up next, Bailey Curry. I don't believe this car is in the game at all, the 52 car. I could be wrong, just off the top of my head here. But, yeah, this car was run at Phoenix this year. I believe he's a teammate to the 51 and the 53. Could be wrong on that. And on that same note, the 53 car. This is a really busy-looking car, but it's a neat paint scheme. It would be nice to see this added. To give some more variety on the back marker cars, if you're running back there a lot, I'm not. I guess that's kind of a dick thing to say if you're running in the back all the time. But like I say, it is nice to have as many different paint schemes on the racetrack because we live in a day and age where that's a thing. So people usually run a different car every week. But this is J.J. Yaley's car. He ran this car at Phoenix as well. And we'll move on to another backmarker car, which is the 54. And Garrett Smithley drove this car this year. This was run at Darlington. This is one of the Darlington cars we don't have. It's a really neat car. It's a throwback to Lenny Pond and his Pepsi car from 1973. Was the Rookie of the Year. Neat addition. We just got Landon Castle's Darlington car, so I guess there is hope that this might get put in. Be nice to have all the Darlington throwbacks, but I understand if they can't. On to Brendan Gaughan. This car was run at Talladega. It's similar to his car that's already in the game, but it's pink.
Hello, I'm Brendan Gaughan. You may remember me from such movies as the 62 Upside Down.
On to Reed Sorensen. This car was run at Darlington as well. It's celebrating the 50th year of MRN. Is a really neat car. I don't think they'll be able to do the chrome numbers well, but regardless of that, there is a podcast out right now that MRN's put together. It's like 10 episodes long or something. I recommend you give that a listen if you haven't. It's really interesting. I love MRN, so I enjoyed listening to it, and you probably would too. And another one of his cars, he ran this at Homestead. I can see this paint scheme probably going in because it was run so late in the year. Again, it's a backmarker car, so it would be nice to have some more variety. Honestly, kind of reminds me of Darrell Waltrip's Kmart car from the 90s. On to Alex Bowman, I know I said I was going to try and avoid doing minor variations of paint schemes, but this was run in the playoffs. This particular car doesn't have playoff logo on it. The only difference is the gray on the front trim of the car. But I can see this going in the game, possibly. Who knows? And here's this Valvoline scheme. This car I would love if it went in the game. It's totally different. This is a neat car. I've always been a Valvoline fan anyway. This was run at Texas this year, late in the year, in November, so could be an addition to the game. We'll see what happens. Two more paint schemes left. The 95 car of Matt DiBenedetto, who will not be in that car next year. This was run at Texas as well. It's a little different than his normal Procore car. It's a little more orange on it. It's like an inverse scheme, I guess. Neat car. And on to the last car. Now, this car was driven by Drew Herring. It's a TRD car. It's celebrating 40 years of TRD. This car was run at Homestead. Now, the 96 car that's in the game is Parker Kligerman's 96 car. I did a little research, and I think this is the only start Drew Herring had in this car, so if they were to put it in, they could put it in with Parker Kligerman. The only difference between the two paint schemes is the door numbers. The Parker Kligerman had red door number, or sorry, Drew Herring had red door numbers. Parker Kligerman's were white. But other than that, the paint scheme appears to be pretty much the exact same. And yeah, so that's going to do it. That's the end of the video. Those are just my thoughts and speculation of what might go in the game and what I'd like to see in the game. Let me know your thoughts, what paint schemes that I might not have included that you want to see in the game in the comments below, and I'll see you next time for another video. Thanks for watching.